the Creative Circle with Enigma Enclave. I'm Alicia. I'm the creator of Enigma Enclave. This is a segment, a roundtable interview, discussion, whatever you want to call it, with Tampa Bay creatives, and we're talking about what it's like to be a creative in Tampa. So we want to hop right into it. We want to get everyone well introduced. I want to do it a little bit different because I want people to watch this and take some gems from this. Can you introduce yourself with your name, your brand, and your favorite creative tool? So, for example, I'll say, I'm Alicia. I'm the creator of Enigma Enclave. My favorite creative tool, okay, I have two. The first one is Planoly. I don't know if you know about Planoly. If you don't, look it up. It's clutch. And then the second one is the Notes app on my phone. So whatever you use to like put your stuff out there. I mean, don't give away all your secrets, but just something that people can use. Abby, you want to start?
Sure. So I'm Abby. I'm a photographer, better known as a Rosita. My favorite creative tool, man, I would say to create and get ideas would be like Pinterest, just because I can create mood boards and kind of, just organize my ideas. So that's mine.
That's a good one. My name is Erica Lee. I am a seamstress. My business is Sewn Apart, and I would say I use a similar app called Later, which I love, and I also use Pinterest because I'm always looking for creative ways to showcase the bow ties, and there's just so much great visual inspiration on Pinterest.
I'm gonna definitely use those apps.
And I'm like trying to think about how I'm gonna write them down.
Right.
What was that?
That Notes app.
Yeah.
My name is Derek, also known as Hometown. I'm an artist, also a curator, co-founder of Blue Zone Collective, co-founder of Tampa Beat Weekend, as well as Beats and Chill. My favorite tool to use is just Notes app, but I was just gonna say iPhone. But yeah, my Notes app is like everything.
All right. My name is Adia, but I'm also known as Indio. I am a singer and also a musician, aspiring. And my favorite creative tool is definitely that voice memos app.
Yes.
Because like if I get my most creative ideas when like I'm in the car or doing something where I have no business trying to create. So like I can't just like record something like, on my mic at home. So I just like take my phone out, and I'm so glad that no one will ever hear those because it's crazy.
Okay. All right. I'm Alex August. I go by Mr. Marvel. I'm the owner of Good Knockin' Entertainment Group, lead host and lead DJ for them, as well as a author, writer, and contributor. My favorite app is kind of going off of Hometowns. I have a Google phone, so we have live transcribe, I'm sorry. So anything that the phone listens to, it'll just transcribe it, which is clutch for writing blog posts, for freestyling, for, transcribing podcasts and the blog posts and just saving me time. I'm all about saving time, so. Yeah.
Is that available on iPhone?
Nah. You knew better to ask. You knew better to ask.
We got cameras though.
Right, that camera.
Nah,
There's really not much to iPhone, but just saying you have a blue bubble and like
That's
I got an iPhone.
Yeah.
When you really compare it to Google phones and Samsungs, there's no comparison.
Just put that on the table right there.
Sponsored? Okay. All right, so that was great. Thanks, guys. Okay, so we're going to jump into getting to know you all. And I want to talk about this word that we've said about 100 times right now, creative. So, as a creative, we'll start with this. Do you feel you are creative? Are you tired of the word creative? And what does it mean to be a creative? So I want to get into that. Erica, hello.
You caught her right in the thought.
Yeah.
I
Got this question so now
So maybe, just dive in.
I definitely consider myself a creative. I used to not, but I sew, I paint, I write, I create.
Yeah.
And there's so much that I want to say, and I want to have hard conversations in a creative way. So for me, I think that is my challenge as a creative, is how can we talk about climate change or, like these other big scary topics where it's digestible to the public and it's not like, oh my God, the world is ending, and it's not just like so overwhelming.
Yeah.
So something that I try to do in my creativity and in my work is present some of these topics in a creative and digestible way, because I think it's easier to have a conversation that way instead of like just talking at you and, like just presenting some ideas and some information for you and like, what do you think about that?
Right. Anybody else want to jump in?
Yeah, I got a pretty good answer. I've been toggling a lot with that word. To be honest with you, I don't like it. I prefer the word creator because a lot of people who identify as creatives, they're creating original work, right? So it's not like, oh, I had a process and then I got from A to B and I used a creative way. It's like, no, I went through this weird process. For example, you two, I know you've done music before, so it's like getting to that final version of the verse or the final version of a song is like, it came directly from you. There's no origin outside of that. So for me, I don't like the word creative. I prefer to say a creator or, something along those lines. But for me, it's just a matter of the process of how to get there. It's not an overnight thing. Nothing as far as being a creative is overnight. So for me, it's just being able to take that journey and then coming out with something that's 100% original. So even if I gave you the formula on what I use, whatever tools I use, whatever programs I use, you won't be able to recreate what I did because it came from like, I'm the originator.
Right.
So.
Makes sense.
I mean, I feel like I don't like to call myself a creative because I usually say that I'm like the least creative person out of my whole camp. Like, I don't produce music, I don't make beats, I don't know how to play an instrument.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't paint, I don't do no graphic design. I'm an idea starter. I come up with hella ideas.
Exactly.
Like, she came in and was like, oh, you still got that idea?
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick out ideas all the time. They may be creative, so maybe someone be like, yo, Derek's a very creative dude, but I'm one of those just idea starters and I like to act on it. And I can put people in place to get those ideas to come to life.
There you go.
You're creating ideas.
You're
in your mind, though,
you're
so.
creating an experience though.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I feel
That
like-
other people can't create.
Right.
And I think people who create ideas are the most important because they're like the front line
Yeah.
for everyone else to start doing what they're doing,
They also sound the craziest too. They be looking at me like, for real, that's what
Yeah.
you're trying to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, all right, figure it out.
Yeah, right? How's that gonna work?
I honestly think that everyone is able to create something.
For sure.
I don't really think that there is an original idea anywhere. I feel like we do everything that we do, even though like it is coming from us. Like it's something that I wrote. It's a beat that I made. It's an idea for an event that I came up with. Something inspired you to come up with that idea. Like something that you saw, even if it wasn't the exact same thing. Like if I'm having like writer's block, like if I watch movies that just have like beautiful like cinematography and stuff like that, like I can be inspired to write a song. That doesn't mean that I'm like jockeying this like movie. Like it's just seeing things and living life and meeting people, having conversations. Like I feel like it does spark, your creativity.
Yeah.
If we didn't have it, if we were just sitting in a room by ourselves and we grew up by ourselves in a white room, we had nothing to look at or talk to, like, we probably wouldn't have any ideas.
Right.
You need that inspiration. And I'm so glad you said that. Were you looking at the notes? That's the next question. When you're trying to get in your creative zone or your creator zone, who are some artists that you're listening to? What's on your playlist? For me, it's so important. Music.
Yes.
Like it can put you in any type of space. So, Indio, since you were there, who are some people that you're listening to that will like make you create beautiful things?
It just depends. It depends on the mood that I'm in. If there's a specific song that I'm working on and it's like in this genre, like if it's like a funk song or something, I'm most likely gonna listen to like my favorite type of like funk music or something. it just depends on what it is that I'm working on. I know my favorite vocalist,
Yes.
like to listen to, definitely Raven Lenae. I don't know if anybody knows who that is, but her voice is just insane. Jennifer, Jasmine Sullivan. Oh my God, I say Jennifer. She's good, but
No, I'm
No, she's not Jasmine Sullivan.
Don't say it like that.
I really enjoy JID and Smino.
I just got put on the JID.
Yeah, like these are like vocalists and like lyricists who are like extremely good at what they do to me.
Yeah.
But I listen to all kinds of music. I love all types of music, so it's like hard for me to give like those specific examples.
I feel like it depends on what you do too.
Mhm.
Like as a photographer,
Yeah.
like, you know, sometimes I have to do weddings and like, you know, I've never been married. I mean, now I'm in a relationship, but before I wasn't. So it's kind of like when I go to weddings, I'll listen to very like slow, like in love
Yes.
music that kind of makes you feel like, damn, like I want to feel that, you know, just so I can get myself in that mood. Because if I go and I'm just chilling and listening to what I listen to, I don't know, music changes like my whole entire being, you know,
Yes.
depending on what I'm listening to. So for me as a photographer, it just depends on what type of shoot I'm going to, or even when I'm editing, like what kind of mood do I want to bring to this photo, you know? So that's kind of how I choose my music for that.
That's awesome.
Now, I'm a real big like YouTuber. Like I like to watch live performances.
Okay.
So like because of that, some of my favorite people to watch is like Kendrick Lamar. Like when he did his live TV show performances, they always are like amazing. Him, Kanye West, or like any like SNL,
Okay.
Jimmy Fallon. Like if you watch the live performances and just watch how they set up the stage and all that, and it like inspires me. Just like colors and just like the whole setup. And that inspires me to kind of like just do something like that, whether it's my event or just my music or somebody on the team. So I just like to watch a lot of like music videos too. I like to the lights out and just let the colors from the TV and everything just kind of like put me in the mood. So that's my thing.
I agree with that. I very much so like the performance aspect of music videos and live. Like I love going to concerts, any concert. I am any genre, I'm game for it. Just because the whole vibe and the element is different than listening on your radio in your car or whatever.
I can't even go to like concerts the way I used to. Like I think
Now you're
like every time I go to a concert, it's like half enjoyment, half studying. Like I'm like,
right.
I like the way they set up their merch booth. I like the way they feel. I'm always like studying everything. So
Yeah, and that's how I feel about like, especially performers who have costume changes in their performances. You know, like as someone who works with textiles and fabric, I'm always like.
Have you ever seen Kanye West live?
I have actually.
Okay. I was about to say.
But he left the show early. It's a different story. It was at Bonnaroo one year.
Okay. For me, as far as what I listen to, I kind of get fluid with it. I'm a comfort listener, so I listen to a lot of old music that I used to listen to growing up. You know, like Goody Mob, Outkast, you know, Love Below, like albums that if I had them on CD right now, they'd probably be warped. But right now, what I'm doing is I just kind of dive into different genres. I'm a really big Daft Punk fan. A lot of people do not know that. I listen to a lot of Daft Punk, Rat-a-Tat, MGMT, just like music that's all based on like sound. And if they have some words on it, then it's like cool. But like, it kind of becomes almost like the soundtrack of your life when you're just like driving in the car and you're doing 100 because you're late or something like that. But you're listening to it and it becomes like a part of like your day where it's just like every time you hear that song, it's like, okay, like you get a mood from it because you remember where you were when you first heard it.
That's awesome. Daft Punk,
yeah.
Kanye West.
Religiously, yeah.
Takeaways. All right, so as we said before, Enigma Enclave is a platform for Tampa Bay creatives. So I want to get into what it's like being a creative in Tampa Bay. And I guess with that, you would just say, I do what I do. But let's put it into context. If you've ever been somewhere else, if you ever been in another scene, in another community, how is it different? How is it great? How does it suck if you feel like it sucks? I don't know. So if anybody wants to talk about their experience and...
Are all of y'all from Tampa? Like born and raised?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you?
You're
No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not.
Go ahead and
So
start.
I was like, yeah. I'm originally from Miami, and the Miami we see now as far as creatives is not what we had 10, 15 years ago. As a young kid in Miami, there was nothing for us. There was no skating rinks, no bowling alleys, there was no Topgolf. There was none of that cool stuff. So as a kid in Miami, you were just walking around, like just, you know what I mean? And that kind of was where a lot of the creative spark for me came from, like freestyling and rapping and stuff like that. And, you know, telling BS stories and going off doing dumb things we probably would have got arrested for. Coming to Tampa was like, there was already this platform. I came here in 2008, so there was already the poets. I wasn't a poet, but I knew I could freestyle. So I was like, all right, well, let me get out here and let me get some snaps. Let me get some people like cheering for me and things like that. And it kind of became a push to like legitimize everything. So from the name Mr. Marvel, from being in front of crowds, it was kind of like so much was going on in the city that kind of fostered for me to kind of just keep on going, like do more. Like I started with a radio show eventually in 2010, and it was like, okay, well, I know if I'm on a mic on radio, I could probably get paid to host events because that just makes sense. Like I know radio people who host events. So it was just like everything in Tampa has always led to a progression in a new space. I think now it's probably a little bit more challenging because everyone feels like they don't want to go back. Like everyone doesn't want to like regress in what they've been doing. Like I've been getting paid to do this, so I feel like I should never not get paid to do this. So I feel like I'm doing this now, and oh, that's so 2011 version of me. So it's like, I think that's a lot of the challenge too. But overall, like this is a great place for photographers, I always say, because it's a beautiful city. And you, obviously you're gonna have your own, you know, response to that. But I think it's a great city to be a creative. It has its challenges, but I can guarantee you that every other city has challenges, probably bigger, way, way, way bigger. But as far as geographically, there's so much, like everywhere you go, you can meet a creative here, which is probably rare.
I agree with that. I used to live in New York City. I'm from Tampa originally, and I used to do stand-up in New York, and it's
Fun.
Right?
Many moons ago, past lifetime. But New York is its own beast and creative engine. But I feel like there's so much talent in Tampa that's comparable to, like, I totally agree. You can go anywhere and meet someone who's doing something creatively, if that's art or music or dance or photography. Like you will go any place in Tampa and run into someone who has some creative element to them, which is like New York or LA or, you know, like any of these other cities. So I think Tampa has so much to offer in that that's comparable to these other bigger cities. And growing up here, it's like so awesome to see how much Tampa has grown. And I think I'm the oldest one here. So like
I
it's
keep
so
hearing that. I keep hearing that. It's crazy how much it's changed.
Oh my gosh.
A lot. But I feel like, you know, it's good and bad. Like I love Tampa and I grew up here, you know, and obviously I've traveled and stuff, but everything has always been here since I was 5. So as a creative, I love this city. And I also love, as a photographer, I obviously take pictures. So sometimes you would think like, all I do is take pictures in Tampa. And it's never, there's always something new to see or a different perspective to see something. But I also feel like, at least for me, like there's so many photographers here that sometimes we're not very open with each other to like share info or share knowledge and stuff like that, because it is a smaller city. So, you know, I feel like somewhere in New York where there's so many creatives, there is no competition. Your only competition is yourself, which is how everyone should feel. So I feel like that's one negative, you know, downside as far as like me as a photographer. I feel like sometimes, you know, we're open, we love each other, but it's always like that, like, you're my competition. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't, you know, and it's a dope way to think, but I feel like, at least me, I'm very like, there is no competition. I have my eye and no one has that. You know?
Exactly.
And then there's a dope photographer who, you know, they might be better than me but they have their own eye. You know, there's no competition when it comes to that. So, but I love the city. I love, you know, just how connected we are, even if we're not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everyone knows everyone. We can come in this room and like maybe I don't know you, but
I know somebody.
I
that
know
knows
you.
someone. Like,
I
I
know
know
your
somebody.
Instagram
that-
name. Like I don't know who you are, but you know, I like your pictures.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying when I came in here. I was like, I know all y'all. And I was like, even though I know we did, I don't think we met, but we ended up finding out we went to the same high school. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also have seen Tampa grown like over
So
time.
much.
My brother, he was in music, and he's a little bit older than me, so he's like kind of done with that. But I used to see when like he would like have shows and stuff like that. I used to do like go to those shows and stuff like that. And like the scene has changed, like it's progressed, like for sure. And there's a lot more opportunity. Other like people come here now, like for concerts.
Yeah.
Like we used to have to go to Orlando or
Right.
Miami to see somebody,
Yeah.
you know.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But like now it's like, you know, people. I just went to that Smino concert, and he didn't go to Orlando or Miami, but he came
Really?
here. Yeah,
That's dope.
people were traveling from there to come see him. So it's been a beautiful progression in my opinion. I feel like it doesn't matter where you are. It's always going to be like people that think that they're better, or people that don't want to share their secrets, or like the competition thing. Like I lived in Atlanta for a little bit. I frequently go to New York. Like I, see how that scene is too. I know people up there, so it's like that doesn't change. Like that's always like been a thing from my experience. But with being a creative in Tampa, I guess for like what I'm doing, I always feel like I used to think that like a lot of things were over like saturated. Like it's just too many singers. Like I'm never gonna make it. But it's as long as you're focusing on yourself, you're going to eventually like create your own lane. It's not gonna matter how many people are singing or doing photography or rapping or whatever. Like just perfect your craft, and then eventually you'll
someone will notice you.
Exactly. And a lot of people, they are in it for the wrong reasons, and that does make it hard for people who actually like are trying. But like I said, you keep working and stuff like that, eventually somebody is gonna notice you. They're gonna see that you're not just BSing,
I think there's a lot of collaboration in Tampa among creatives
too.
Like
It's not spoken on enough.
no.
I would say, one thing that I know, big commentary in Tampa is that like creatives, they start here and then they leave. Like you mentioned, oh, I can't believe you went to Atlanta. You don't love Tampa because you left, right? But I think that should be a sign that Tampa's a really good incubator for creatives.
For
Like,
sure.
if I can take someone from Miami who's a photographer or a writer and say, oh, you got writer's block, come to Tampa for a weekend. Come to Tampa for a really, really good weekend and just be among the creatives here. And I guarantee you will go back to Miami with a completely different perspective. Because, I mean, and everyone here would probably be able to benefit from that too. But when you come here, you realize that there are people who have been just growing within themselves for so long that when they go to Atlanta, they're going because there's confidence in their work. It's not necessarily because the city's this or the city's that, the taxes went up by 1%. Who cares? Like you go to Atlanta because like my wings are ready to fly there, you know what I mean? Or you go to LA, you go to St. Louis, whatever city, like you're now ready to live in any city and do what you do in that city. And I think a lot of people have to remember that that person at the end of the day, they're still from Tampa.
This is their foundation.
On for the city, like
Exactly.
I think it's such a small way of thinking because a lot of people think that like you're from Tampa, like you stay in Tampa, you grow in Tampa, you make it from Tampa. But sometimes that's not the case, and if we're not able to do that, we can go somewhere else and grow and always put on for Tampa, and then bring creatives from Tampa, out, and we can all eat, we can all make it. So I think people forget that. Part.
I think this conversation is so interesting because my whole thought has always been kind of like you said, Alex, that it's an incubator. That it's, in the last interview, we had somebody talking about it, and they're talking about how people kind of grow here, and then it's kind of like a trampoline. You jump, but you're somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so my question is, do we ever feel like Tampa will be that spot? Will it be the Atlanta? Will it be the New York or the LA? Or I think it might have to do with time, just how things have grown. But I don't know. I don't even know if we have, traffic is already terrible.
Right.
How are we gonna?
I know for a fact that, like how y'all saying like Tampa's grown. I remember me and my team, we started out, we were in the hip hop scene as like the young guys rapping. Everybody was like, oh, y'all guys are like Q-Tip and everybody, right? So then we got to the point of now we're kind of like the middle older guys now, like a lot of the young people who are like our little brothers and sisters growing up watching us rap at open mics and stuff. Where it was on one spot you can go to, where it's like conscious rappers, street rappers, all these people perform on the same stage. Now you have multiple venues people can perform at. So sometimes you might not even hear these people. But as far as like Tampa being that spot, that's kind of like something that, you know, I kind of like thought of initially to change the identity for Tampa.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to do that in the music scene with production. I wanted Beats and Chill and Tampa Beat Weekend to kind of help drive that force and be like, there can be somebody in Wyoming or Maryland or whatever. Like, you know what? I want to be a producer. This is what I want to do. I'm going to go out to HCC at Tampa, and because the production community is hot down there, this guy's here, and everybody's cool. I'm going to go out there. They got the festival down there. They got Beats and Chill. I want to go to Tampa because I want to start my production career down there. So that's what I wanted to do with Tampa and make Tampa that spot for that. And hopefully that happens and also helps create that spot for other creators too.
I love it. I love it. All right, y'all, that was awesome. Thank you so much. We're gonna take a quick break.
Cool.
Nope.